What's up, guys? Let me load the screen real quick so we can get started here. I actually made some notes for our video, so this way we can get right down to the point. If you have any questions, as always, you can ask them here and I'll answer them while we're live here in the Facebook group. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. Anytime you have a question during this, I'll always come back to the video, answer them, so this way we can provide more insight. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel so we know obviously that these videos are great. Anyway, so by the way, shout out to my boy Iman for the hoodie. Did a great job on these. Iman Gaji, if you don't follow him also on YouTube, go check him out. Crazy good apparel line. So let's get into success versus the destination. So and the common misconception that is like destroying the mindset behind people pursuing their passion, and how arriving at the destination doesn't really mean or doesn't really make you successful, okay? So I just finished up a book. Again, I know I've been talking about this book for a little bit now, but it's been super powerful for me. Russ, Get Out of Your Head. Really good book. I like to read. I get a lot of what I know from my mentors currently, mentors I used to have, and books that I read. I like to read a book or two per month, depending on how dense the information is, because I like to make sure you can still apply it. Guys, drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to be able to see how we're able to get everyone from the world together in one place. So the trick with this, and first of all, let me just tell you the problem, right? And what we're noticing a lot of time is that when people get into business, they're there to pursue a specific thing, right? And whether that be to make $1 million, or whether that be to start a national chain, or whether that be to pay off their debt, or whether that be to escape their 9-to-5, like this becomes the destination, right? And the problem with that is what ends up happening is you get to that destination and then you become lost again, right? Which is going to be different because if people see you from the outside looking in and you fall in love with the process, which is going to be what we talk about today, falling in love with the process, what ends up happening is when you fall in love with the process and you don't make your destination a byproduct, like of one of those things I just talked about, what ends up happening is other people start to see you as lost, right? So when you actually adopt a winning mindset that'll help you push through any level of adversity and you fall in love with the process, which I'll give you some examples as we go through this video here, but when you fall in love with the process, what ends up happening is, and you make all these things that I mentioned before a byproduct, right? Which is making $1 million, creating a national chain, paying off your debt, whatever that is, leading your 9-to-5. When you make those a byproduct to falling in love with the process, other people will start to see you as lost because they are defining success by a destination. And that is where the problem starts, okay? Your truest success starts and ends with you. Heard an amazing quote. This is actually from a life coach out of this book. And the quote was, "What if I could become something more than you think I can?" Okay, so let that sit for a second. What if I could become something more than you think I can? This is a great example of why your truest success is going to start and end with you. If you believe that your goal is to start a restaurant, and you want to start a successful restaurant, and your goal is to launch that restaurant, and it be in the newspapers locally, and it be successful, and it pay for your entire team, and it support your lifestyle, then that's your destination. That is going to be where you fall, right? Now, granted, if somebody else sees in you, they're like, hey, you have the potential to where you could make this into a national chain. The likelihood of that is slim. Like that more than likely won't happen for you. And the reason why is because you don't believe in it yourself. Somebody else believes in it for you. And that's never going to be enough to get you to that level, okay? So for example, for us, like the sales agency, the company that I own where we staff winning sales reps for agencies, or we go in and we train sales teams for agencies. If I were to sit here and say that I want to just have 100 clients and get them all to $1 million, like more than likely that's going to be what I end up pursuing and I get to, but then what, right? There's a reason why our goal is to be the #1 used sales recruiting force and sales training force in the world. Like that is the goal. right? So everything that happens in between that process is what we end up falling in love with, right? So for you guys, that could be you maybe running into some trials and tribulations, okay? That could be you creating a tornado in your life, right? Because you're doing so many things, eventually something's gonna break. Eventually something's gonna fall apart, right? As long as you created that tornado in your life or an external influence like COVID-19, which is, depending when you watch this video, that's something that the world's going through right now. Like, it doesn't matter what ends up happening. If that falls on your path right now, as a result of you pursuing your specific purpose, then that's okay. It's supposed to be there, right? If you see it as something that is a sign that you're not supposed to do this, then odds are you're not actually pursuing your truest purpose, your truest passion, right? But if you start to see that as just a part of the process, like this obstacle is in my way because I'm meant to address this now, right? Then you will become the most skillful player that you can become, right? Remember, as a sailor, we're not trying to sail a smooth sea, right? That doesn't make a skillful sailor. We're here to have the rough chop, right? We're here to have the waves. You know what I'm saying? As a sailor, that's what's going to make us the most skillful sailor. A sailor that can sail in that type of ocean versus a sailor that's sailed a smooth sea, who do you think is going to be the most skillful? Okay? So see those obstacles as long as you're pursuing your truest passion and your purpose, then you will start to see those obstacles as a part of the process and embrace them with open arms. Okay? A great example of this, because I get this question a lot. Rob, how are you able to wake up every day and to be able to stay driven in this way towards your purpose when the purpose is so big? Even when you set small goals, how can you still wake up every day knowing that some seasons are basically like you're harvesting, some days like you're dealing with drought, like in your business, there's just different seasons. Maybe we'll make a different video on that. But how are you able to stay motivated during different seasons when sometimes the seasons feel like they last longer, right? A great example of this would be the COVID thing, since it's happening around the world right now. Like, this started around beginning of Q1 of 2020, and it's projecting to go past Q2, which is mind-boggling, right? Well, how do you stay motivated through something like that, or through something else that has a different name than COVID that is in relation to it, right? And the thing is, guys, if you wake up knowing, and gals, if you wake up knowing every day and understand that as long as you're living, there will always be, I actually wrote this line down here, until you die, there is always a road that you haven't been down, okay? And the thrill of the journey is embracing the newness as long as it's in sync with your purpose, okay? So I hope you guys are feeling that message, but anyway, so if you guys are going through something right now, it's where you're like, man, I really wanted this thing, and that's why I'm doing this business, or that's why I'm doing this action, is because I want this thing. Well, reflect on that, see if that thing is just a byproduct. You're going to realize when you talk to people that are abundantly successful, and it seems like they're always abundantly successful, they're never satisfied. And you might ask yourself, like, why? Why is that? And typically it's because complacency is like the #1 fear for people in those positions. So whenever they create something that's successful, they have to move on to the next thing. They're not complacent, and it's because their destination wasn't that byproduct, aka the successful thing, right? The money milestone, the paying off the debt, the quitting the 9 to 5, like their destination wasn't that, okay? That was just an accomplishment in pursuit of their purpose. All right, it was just a part of winning's just a part of the process, as is losing, right? So they just see that they're able to get those things to relate and normalize those two things, winning and losing. Now, that being said, you need to be grateful for the wins, right? Celebrate the small wins. It's basically your gratitude for the small wins is telling the universe, I'd like some more of that, please. So make sure that you're still staying grateful for the good things happening into your life and the people coming into your life. I got a saying once, or one of my old mentors, this was 7 years ago. I was crushing it in gym sales, and he was a VP of the company at the time in sales, and he shot me an email, and he's like, remember, you're winning right now. Spike the ball in the end zone, celebrate with your team, and get back on the field because there's still a game to play. And that stuck with me forever. So keep that stuff in mind, guys. Also, remember this too, like when I say be grateful for the people coming into your life, you're going to notice this a lot of the time, that people come in and out of your life. That's a part of the process, okay? So if you're noticing somebody come into your life and they come out of your life, the way I started to see life is that life is this game where it's basically this relay race. Where we're able to tag people in. You're essentially holding somebody's hand until you get to the next person, and that'll continue to happen until you end the journey, right? When you die and life is over, and some people will stay in the race, right? But other people won't want to run that race anymore. Like they'll be on a different path, right? They'll want to go and do maybe the 4x4 or the 4x1 or the 4x8. That's a race, I think. They might want to go run a different relay, that's just how the game of life works. So don't take things so offensively. I know I have over the years, and I get better as I get wiser and older to understand, like, this is all part of the process. Like, the obstacles that are in my path as a result of somebody else is still on me, because you allow that person in your life, and if it doesn't fall if it's not in sync with your purpose, then it's just a learning lesson of you understanding to be true to yourself, or this is what happens, right? So it's really important to also understand that is a part of the process. You're not going to get everything right the first time, and sometimes it takes time to figure out what that purpose looks like for you, right? You need to be able to be with yourself, and these are still things I work on. I'm 28 years old. These are things I've worked on for years. So to be able to learn how to sit with yourself, to find yourself, to be able to project your best self into the world, you will then gravitate what you're meant to have, right? Because you gravitate what you project, and if you fall in love and find your best self, you start to project that into the world, and you'll start to gravitate. You'll end up literally colliding with the people that you're supposed to be with in your life. That's happened to me a number of times. At the time it was supposed to happen. Now, granted, some of those people aren't in my life now, but they entered into my life at the time they were supposed to, and then they end up leaving regardless of what that exit looked like. They left at the time they needed to, whether that was in line with my journey or in line with their journey, right? At the end of the day, that's what the journey was supposed to look like, or this part of the process. So it's important to recognize these things that happen, whether it's an external influence like COVID-19, or an external influence like, this wouldn't necessarily be external, but like maybe getting evicted, or your car being repoed, or losing your job, or going through a breakup, or anything along those lines. Like, it's a part of the process, and if you can say to yourself, if you can confidently say to yourself that I am pursuing my passion, that will make it in sync with what's supposed to be happening. If you guys have any questions, drop them below. Love to answer them. I'm going to go through an example real quick before we get ready to, more than likely, call it on the video here. But, so an example, this is a great one. I was actually reflecting on our Q1 of this year, 2020. And I'm looking at 2000, by the way, guys, if you're not tracking this in your business, it is important to make sure you're tracking this. Good things that happen throughout the month, so this way you can find discrepancies between this month of this year, this month of last year, this month of the previous year of that. So this way you can see, like, why did you have such rapid growth? Why didn't you have such rapid growth? So as I'm evaluating this in Q1 of 2020, initially I beat myself up because I was looking at what the goal was. And even now, I got lost in that being the destination which determined success for Q1. And we fell short about 150 grand of what I wanted us to hit in Q1 of 2020. So I immediately was like, and then we had some projects that also didn't get completed yet, of things we're working on. So I immediately was like, wow, we are incredibly far behind. But then I had to sit back and reflect on falling in love with the process and not losing who I am in pursuit of getting to where the biggest goal of where I want to go, which is to become #1 in the world in what we do and how we help people, which is training sales team and recruiting winning sales reps into agencies. So to make sure I didn't get lost, I had to look back and reflect. That's why it's important to journal, write things down. So as I'm looking back at 2018 or 2019, I see that we increased by 18% in Q1 of this year versus Q1 of last year. And we had so many transitions, so many moving pieces happening in Q1 of 2020, building the team, launching new things, building new things, whole company restructure. And that said to me, okay, we're moving the needle. So falling in love with the process still allowed us to move the needle. And it's hard not to get lost in that sometimes, because especially as you're super ambitious, right? If you're super ambitious, you're going to end up setting some really extreme goals. And that's okay. Like, you should always have a quota, a goal, and a stretch goal, but it's okay to have that, right? So I looked at Q1 of 2018, and when I set my 2020 Q1 goal for what we wanted to hit as a company, I looked back at 2018 versus 2019, where we saw 194% growth between Q1 of 2018 and 2019. So in my mind, our goal was to be able to see a similar growth pattern in 2020. And there's some moving pieces that I didn't consider because it's a part of the journey that I had never experienced, right? So as I'm addressing these obstacles that are newly obstacles falling in, the newness, right? Falling into my path, I understood it was in sync with my purpose. So I embraced it with open arms, like it's supposed to happen. Like COVID is supposed to happen in our business, right? Which is a worldwide pandemic. Like, this stuff is supposed to happen because it's testing you. This is the universe testing you to see if you truly want it. Like, sitting back and reflecting, like, is this something you truly want, and what are your efforts going to be in order to move through this, move past this? Because if you truly love the process, you will continue, right? So anyway, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I wanted to define the difference between success and the destination, and make sure you understand that if shit is hitting the fan, then understand that as long as you're in sync, as long as it's in sync with your purpose and you're moving in the direction of your passion and your purpose in life, it's all part of the process. So understand that is what success is falling in love with the process, and the process will be good to you. So I hope this was helpful, fam. Keep in mind, it all starts and ends with you. All right? So I'll catch you on the next video. If you thought this was helpful, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. If you're watching this in the Facebook group live, then drop a comment. Let us know what you thought, and other videos you'd like to see similar to this. So, and like the video, so in comments, so we can expand the reach. This is why I make these videos, to help people. So, and based on my real experience, right? You guys know at this point, I don't make videos based off of theory, based off of, theory or like something we think might work. It's always about my experience, what we're doing now, what's currently working, and how we're continuing to move the needle. There's a lot of people exiting the game because it's getting hard. I've been in this game 2.5 years now. I can tell you right now, I'm not going anywhere. All right? And we're continuing to move the needle regardless of the level of adversity that the universe throws in our path. It's all part of the process, and it's in sync with our mission. So I'll see you guys on the next video, and see you soon.